This is my new vintage Karger lathe. It is blue. This is the chuck that came with the lathe. It is round. This is a homemade chuck key. It fits the chuck. And this is a very small chuck key that also fits the same chuck. So what's going on here? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking these small screws can perhaps be used to true up the chuck. Unfortunately, they seem to be seized up, and that means it's time to take this thing apart. But before we open up this thing, let's check for runout. If this can be trued up, it's good to have a reference point on video. Well, that's almost 3/10 of a millimeter runout. Quite a lot. I got a piece of hex stock in the chuck jaws and I'm using it to grip it in the vise. I'm gonna get some sockets. Not very tight. Not tight at all. Looks pretty mangled up. Wonder why that is. Yeah. That went a lot easier than I expected. There are some numbers here. 1G30 105A. With the backing plate removed, these 3 little screws came out pretty easy. No extra leverage was needed. These look to be designed to push against something. And there it is, the insides. So this looks to be a chuck that can be retrued. Only this is not a 3-jaw within a 4-jaw, it's a 3-jaw within a 3-jaw design. Here's a look inside the chuck. All pretty standard. Doesn't look too bad. There's some dried up grease. But that can happen after. Well, if it came with the lathe when new, it could be 80 years old, maybe 90, but I doubt that. So this is how it works. You loosen up these 3 bolts a little, then you true up the chuck using these screws, and then tighten everything up again. Should be easy enough, but I guess we're gonna find that out later. And there's the scroll / gear, round gear, rack gear, round rack, I don't know how it's called. These are all the parts before cleaning. Now I gotta do some derusting, some polishing, some de-smurfing of the blue color. Well, I'll leave it like this. Good enough for me. I'm using a bit of acid to remove some rust. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a little stronger than vinegar and a bit weaker than hydrochloric acid. It's pretty safe to use. If you get it on your hands, it will bite after a while, so you gotta watch out for that. And well, just don't drink it. This is taking me too long. Most of the upper layer of loose rust is gone. and that's what's important, because I don't want that stuff getting into the gearing. There's only one easy way to do de-rusting, and that's to have somebody else do it for you. You see, the last bit, it starts to bind up. And it's really hard to seat it properly against the register. After some grinding with my trusty Dremel, it now treads on much easier. Another little problem solved. Before I put this thing back together, I'm gonna run this Super Arkansas stone out of Nuremberg, Germany, over the face of the chuck. There is some lettering here. There are 6 patent numbers for 6 different countries. Oh, then there is probably a name of the seller, maker on here, and the word Amsterdam. I'll edit in some pictures if you want to try and decipher this. Well, that's good enough for me. Here are all the parts after a bit of a cleanup. So now I need to put it back together. I'm putting a bit of bearing grease on the gear here, or the, what's it called? I'm not using any grease on the scroll. I think that only attracts metal shavings. Little grease in the holes here for these things. Yep. The location of these things doesn't matter. I've put a light coat of oil on here to prevent it from rusting, and that way it will slide a bit easier when adjusting the run out. Backing plate. Unfortunately, I have to reuse these terrible looking screws. I couldn't find any new ones. These are metric with a pitch of 1.25, and they are M6, although they are just a bit bigger than most normal M6 screws, which I find odd. But for now they'll have to do. And last but not least, the jaws. These still look pretty good. The serration is still all there. They don't look bell-mouthed. The outside jaws appear to have been hit at some point. I don't know what happened there. Looks like I gotta take it apart again. Well, I got it back together. The start of the scroll was hitting the slots for the jaws. So I took a little off on the grinder. Now it's fine. So now I gotta find out if I can adjust this thing to run through. Well, I was hoping for 0 run out, but I guess I made it worse for now. I already got it to run a little better, but this is, well, this thing is pretty hard to dial in. I got it running pretty close to true. Before I tightened up the bolts, it was a bit better. The procedure that I used to throw this thing up was find the high spot closest to a screw here, and then tighten up the next one, and then do the same thing all over again. I think I might be able to do a little better, but I just about had enough of this thing. But from 3/10 of a millimeter to 3/100th of a millimeter is quite a big improvement. I'm happy with this. The end.
Next video I will be refurbishing what is probably the dirtiest scroll chock in the world.